Hi, this is Terry Modica of Good News Ministries of gnm.org, and we are running a series of articles and podcasts about the phenomenon that's going on right now that's very exciting, where Gen Z young men are coming back to church or discovering, they're going into the church because they're seeking something that the Catholic Church offers. And it's unlike past generations, and one of the unusual things about it is that it's mostly men. There's a lot more Gen Z men than women who are interested in getting back to the church. And if you would like to keep up with the articles on this, it's being posted weekly in LinkedIn in a newsletter that I write called Ministry Excellence. So I invite you to come to my LinkedIn account. The link for it will be in the description of this video. And uh, please help, you know, let's get involved in inviting these young men while we have this wonderful window of opportunity. And to help us better understand the mind of a Gen Z young man, I've invited Michael Snellen to come to our show and talk to us about his journey of faith. Hi, Michael.
Hello, it's good to be here.
It's good to have you. We've known each other for a few years now. I've been watching his ministry grow, and while when I first met him, he was, I think, 1 year into the Catholic faith. So he just jumped right into doing online ministry as soon as he became Catholic. Michael, were you before you became Catholic?
Yeah, and so I'm actually coming up on the 4 year anniversary of like making that decision to become Catholic. But before that, I was a Baptist who may go on the holidays, so like Christmas and Easter. But that was kind of my faith experience in high school. When I was in middle school playing like basketball, I would go to the Christian non-denominational basketball camps and Sunday school, summer school. And so I had kind of a loose Protestant background.
Okay, what made you decide to explore the Catholic faith?
Yeah. Yeah. So I was initially opposed to it. I think that's an important point because my college roommate was Catholic. He went off to the military and, grew up like as an altar boy, I think. And by the time we were roommates, he was a year older than me, but he was taking me to church. He was kind of like dragging me out of my bed early on Sunday mornings and saying, "You're going with me to Mass." And he didn't go every Sunday during that time after kind of him being away in the military. For him to get back into it was kind of difficult. And so he would go like once a month, but even then, that was kind of like a small exposure of Catholicism. And there was so much to it. I think at first, my initial reaction was like, there's almost so much that I don't understand. I kind of had this reluctance to like research it more or even try to understand it. And he did his best at explaining things like kind of in a simple manner, like, oh, here's when you kneel. Don't, he told me, don't receive communion. That was really good. He took me to adoration once. We actually joined a men's group, a Catholic men's group that met like every Thursday at the college Newman House. And yeah, they were just very friendly. Like looking back on it, they didn't like try to get in debates with me, though I was maybe looking to do that. I was reading the Bible a lot on my own during that time period. So all of that's kind of like my background. And then maybe to kind of get into your question more, going home that summer, so about like this time, I was back home for summer break after that first year off at college. And then like after kind of having that journey of faith through the pandemic, that was actually the pandemic year. So 2020 and 2021, a lot of isolation, a lot of asking myself, like, what do I want to do with my life? And so all that really came to conclusion that June when I started researching what church did I want to join. Did I want to join the Baptist church of my youth that I kind of saw this lack of commitment, at least with the people that were going there, including my own family. And then also the Catholic Church. Like, do I want to join this church? I thought I already knew. I thought I knew everything there was to know about Catholicism, though I just kind of got that very brief exposure and I didn't understand it. And so those were like the two churches I kind of, eliminated. Firstly, that first day I was researching, I was like, I'm not going to do the Baptist faith or the Catholic faith, but anything else is open game. And there was, of course, like some other maybe strange denominations. Not going to mention them, but it was like some of those I just kind of ruled out initially. And then it was actually a Lutheran pastor. This is really funny, I think, but a Lutheran pastor. He was convincing me on kind of these Catholic beliefs, such as infant baptism and even, well, confession and a type of the real presence, not the full real presence. Like the Lutherans only go halfway in. They're like Jesus is present fully, but alongside the full bread, the full wine. I think they call it consubstantiation. And so that to me seemed like going halfway in. And here I was wanting to make a full decision. And so that is what kept me from actually going into the Lutheran church. But like that same day, after learning all of that and being convinced brought actually closer to the Catholic faith, then I started to see these lectures online. One was a talk by a monk, and I kind of just Googled around, like, what were the Catholic churches near me? I was kind of interested in visiting one. And then I saw these monks, actually, the monks at the Abbey of Gethsemane, where Thomas Merton went. And I saw these monks who were like committing their lives to the faith. So they weren't like my exposure to people kind of treating religion as a social club growing up, but they were people dedicated themselves like to prayer, to the Christian faith. And so that was, I think, really attractive to me, even like subconsciously looking back on. And ultimately, like it was maybe a couple of days after that that I said, all right, I'm going to make the decision to become Catholic. And
Do
that's
you do you think
it.
that that your experience that the age you were during the COVID lockdowns, then the isolation you mentioned, do you think that contributed to your interest in, I mean, the monks, yes, they're deep into prayer, but another obvious aspect of them is community. They belong together. You know, there's a sense of belonging, there's a sense of community. Did you find that attractive?
That's a really good question. I haven't actually thought about that much. So the pandemic, I think, did have a huge impact or an influence on like the young Catholic men, especially converting nowadays. But I think, yeah, just that longing for community. So that was like, I look back on those times, like I wasn't even allowed to go to my friend's house during high school. I would go to their houses like every week, at least once a week, and then like being kind of isolated during that 2 month 3 month period, it maybe um, pushed me to like working on myself. So like getting into like the whole self improvement crowd and like kind of reading those books or watching those videos. And there's a lot of that online nowadays. A lot of people that are influencing young men in that sphere. And so, yeah, communities. I think some of that actually has a community with it. It's like these other young men who are wanting to improve themselves. So it's kind of hard to actually meet those people because they're kind of all isolated themselves all over, say, the world. And they don't really actually have a avenue for kind of this, well, brotherhood or whatnot, but the Catholic Church does. And so I think initially that wasn't something I was looking for, at least consciously, but maybe like that was a subconscious longing that I did desire community.
Well, the ministries that you started after you became Catholic, uh, I want to hear about those ministries, and that what I've been aware of, they've just been multiplying. You have such a creative mind. You're an entrepreneur, and you're focusing on the faith and helping people connect in the faith. So, I mean, you just mentioned about, the young men are, looking for community, but they're not knowing how to find the community, but you're offering community online. and so tell us about your ministry, and answer the question, uh, of the people that you've connected with through what you have offered online. Do you find that they are already Catholic, have recently become Catholic, or are just you're leading them into the Catholic Church through what you're doing?
Yes, that's a really good question. I think like to go at it from two parts. So I have like the global, say, apostolate, which is Sacred Heart Christian and Sacred Heart Christian creators. And so trying to build a community there that would be like for creatives. And I'm kind of expanding that definition to include artists, teachers, business people, and ministry workers, people that are, say, evangelists trying to use like creativity to, well, they have to use creativity to be successful in their mission because people are coming from many different walks of life nowadays. Like you have all of the kind of new age confusion. And so you don't really know what people are going to believe. And like, even if you're, well, hearing from them, like some of these agreements about religion, you don't know, like, if they have a misunderstanding about what they're saying, or at least what they think they believe. So there's a lot of confusion nowadays, a lot of relativism, and there's a lot of fallen away Catholics, a lot of Catholics who say grew up, but then they kind of were influenced by the world, so have kind of a understanding of the faith. And I think me being a convert, that allows the house from the outside. A lot of people, they grew up and they never leave the house, but I get to see the Catholic Church from the outside, and I think that allows me a unique way to actually go in that and tell people what the outside of the house looks like. And so locally, I've actually kind of transitioned quite a bit from like the worldwide outreach to, say, just local outreach really in the last year or so. I started a Facebook page. I was trying to start a young adult group for like a local community down here. There's not really any of that happening, but then it kind of expanded. So a lot of older people started joining, and then it really turned into a page for all Kentucky Catholics. And it's been really successful, more than I could ever imagine, because I think it allows like the fallen away Catholics, well, the people who are interested in Catholicism, to kind of see, say, just the beauty of, well, the historic faith we have here in Kentucky, and it allows them to get involved in a number of ways. I'm always like promoting the events that are happening. I'm always sharing like what groups there are, trying to make it easier for people to get involved. Because even I remember when I first started to look for other young Catholic groups here in the area, you go on Google and you search like Catholic groups in the area, and then you get like just tons of random links, but there's really no centralized way. And I think that's something that maybe the archdiocese or dioceses around the world need to do more, actually kind of centralizing things. Because I was reading a book, The Soul of the Apostolate, recently. It's an older French book, but even then, 100 years ago, he was saying we live at a time where there's so many, well, apostolates, so many ministries, so many groups, so many events. There's almost too many of them, but like actually to go for quality, that would require sort of a unity, sort of a community amongst the ministers themselves, amongst the people who are trying to evangelize. Instead of going two by two, we're all trying to go at it alone nowadays.
That's a zap. Let's see a faith bolt for that one. That is a zap because you're talking, and we see that, I've seen that in my own life, and I'm a few generations older than you. And where ministries in the parish, in the diocese, or lay founded ministries are silos, and there's no unity, there's no collaboration. And when we try to collaborate, they're not interested because they're busy and will just take up more of their time, instead of them seeing that there's something wonderful that can happen by uniting and collaborating. Without giving up, anything about our ministry, we can and should be collaborating with other ministries. And like you said, the young adults, um, there's not been a lot of young adult ministry. There's been in my diocese, there's a young adult ministry. In my parish, there's a young adult ministry because the mother of someone who had outgrown the teen group was now a young adult, wanted to continue something, and there wasn't anything in the parish. So the mother began to put the group together and has been leading it and continuing it over time. And so, however things start, there's not enough collaborate, and not just collaboration, but I'm thinking like what you touched on about a centralized place where you could go, like the diocesan website, not just listing their own ministries, but every single ministry in the diocese, whether it's
Yeah.
a parish ministry or a lay ministry. I mean, Good News Ministries has been vetted by my bishop, and I have a letter of approval from him, but Good News Ministries has never been, a link on their website. That's par for the course. And I think as Gen Z, who went through the isolation during key years of their lives, the isolation of COVID, I think there's a real revival that started, and we need to be finding as many ways as possible to to make it easier for them to find not just their local parish, but a youth group they could attend. Do you have any comments
Yeah.
on that?
Oh, a ton, maybe too much, but, like, I was actually thinking I think well, as Catholics, like, as the church, we've had these huge kind of, structures for so long, lots of money, lots of people, at least a couple decades ago now, but, like, we kind of got maybe, um, say I don't think complacent's the right word, but we kind of lost, say, yeah, that desire for unity. We kind of had no need for it. But I look at like a lot of the Protestant churches, and like just even here in my local area, there's kind of like the big mega church. Now this mega church, it might seem like it has a lot of money and all of that, but actually it's only like maybe a couple hundred people. It's only a certain number of like donors. It's kind of very isolated. It's not a global thing like the Catholic Church is. So in a lot of ways, like these small Protestant groups or even the churches, like they do outreach very well. They're actually using the talents of every single person they have in the church very well. Maybe they have like the people who help out with the crying babies during their service or whatnot. And maybe they have like the people who open up their houses for like Catholic, or well, not Catholic, but they're Christian groups to meet. So like they'll have these house groups where they have book studies and things like that. And I just don't see a lot of that happening in the Catholic Church, sort of because we expect like someone else to do it for us, and we
Mm.
expect it just to like happen naturally. Like we expect the parish picnic to happen every year. We expect like some other parish event to happen every year, just kind of naturally. But I think like we're coming to a point where a lot of people are like, say, not to say something too harsh, but like dying off. A lot of the people who are Catholics, the people still going to mass, are say going to a better place, and then it's like leaving a lot of the younger generation. We lost kind of that, I think, 40-30 road generation, and so now it's like people like me coming into mass for the first time, really young people, and then we kind of see just maybe this kind of rigid structure of people that don't always want to get involved, partly because they don't know how to get involved, and also partly because they've never been asked to get involved. But I think we're going to come to a point like where people are going to have to get more involved and offer their unique talents in the body of Christ.
Yeah, there are plenty of books that have been written, workshops that have been given by people who see that same vision and have provided it to priests and dioceses and parishes. There's plenty of resources out there about how to reach out, how to be a parish that attracts people. But there's not a lot going on that implements those things. And part of it is what you said. People uh, people of older generations are, it's not me. The priest can take care of it. And I'm busy enough with my kids going to dance and baseball and all that kind of stuff. And there's I've been in a parish where the priest was so evangelizing that the number of ministries multiplied from, maybe 10 to about 100 in the 6 years he was there. And it's because, he got people excited. I mean, even during the mass, he would take time now and then to stop the prayers and explain what was happening. And I mean, it was an evangelizing mass. And there were other programs that he embraced. And anybody that came up to him and said, "Hey, I think we ought to have a ministry for blank," and he'd say, "Great, put it together, do it." And the person would go, "Not me," and he'd go, "Well, if not you, then nobody." So it multiplied because the people felt inspired, and then they felt empowered. What would you say for young adults who are checking out the Catholic Church? What would you say would be, other than a young adults group, what would you say is something that would be important for a parish to have available to them, to encourage them to reach out to them and get more of them to come to church, or to get them committed and involved?
Yeah, so I'll tell a brief story, like going back to my days in the Baptist church. Like whenever anybody first came to that church, they would, well, every service they would say, "Do we have any new members here today? Raise your hand." So you would do that, and they would say, "Stand up," and they would say, "Come to the front." Then they would give you like a welcome package. Then everybody in the church would like shake your hand by the end of the day. And so when I first went to a Catholic church on my own, making that decision, it was like July 4th, so coming up like on an anniversary of that. But going into that mass, like I didn't shake anybody's hand, didn't say hello to anybody. There was nobody standing outside to greet. Then left the church, I think, without speaking to one person. I did wave to one person on the way out, but so I went to the mass without like meeting anybody, without actually growing any sort of like bonds with anybody, and that can be bonds of friendship or family. And so I think something like that young people could probably do more at their parishes. And well, just to say like that experience actually kind of well got my spirits down. It the opposite of excitement, as you said. It was like I wasn't really excited to join that parish to get involved there, partly because I felt unwelcome, but partly because maybe I felt like there wasn't just any room for that parish to grow as a family. But I think young people, we have to stay optimistic and like be those drivers of change, like to maybe offer our services more. And you ask like kind of about specific things we could do at a parish, but like something I've thought about doing recently at my parish, and so I kind of suffer from the whole the endless questioning and endless ideas that I think a lot of people nowadays do. They like endlessly discern something without actually doing it. But I think something very simple that people could do is maybe just like stand outside after mass and be the person who waves to people, be the person who like welcomes people into the church, gives them a welcome packet or a brochure, says hello to them after mass. And I think just doing that, a lot of people would actually be really happy, I think, to see young people doing that. That would make the parish seem like it has some vitality, some life to it. And I think once you
Zap,
do
zap.
that,
That's a
yeah,
zap. If I ever
you
heard one,
bring the
that's a
parish
zap.
back to life.
Yeah, I've been to on vacation one time. The a parish that was so welcoming. I wanted to move from where I am to that town so I could join the church. But they had a table outside that had welcome packets on it, and a big sign that drew people in if they were new to the parish. And so as people were coming in, there wasn't time for conversation, but there after mass too for more conversation. They had also built into the parish a cafe where people could get their coffee and donuts in a cafe environment, sit down at a table, like you get in a cafe, and talk to people. And um, my parish has coffee and donuts once a month, and it's in an undersized room, and I'm watching as more and more people are coming to this and squishing into that room. And it's a wonderful thing to see. My parish also has people that when the greeters who will open the door for anybody coming in, as so the welcome is not just a wave or a hello. They're physically opening the door. I mean, that is a symbol of welcoming. And they're after at the end of mass, a lot of places have the priest outside so that you shake his hand. But I think that would be a great time to have a little table out there with. I mean, there is a little table in the narthex, which is a very small narthex that has some materials that people can take home. But unless they're handed out, like the bulletin is handed out, this stuff gets missed because people are in the flow walking out the door with everybody else. So yeah, I think a greeting committee is one of the best ways. And I like your idea of there should be young adults in those greeting committees.
Yes. Yeah, I think that would go a long way. I think, yeah, like you have to kind of build that family care at a parish, and then that will make people feel like they can be a part of it and actually contribute to it.
Yeah, I happen to be at my parish one of the adult leaders of the young adults group, and we have a new member. We also have a WhatsApp chat group so that we can share videos and prayer requests, and here's what's coming up. We're all going to go to the movies together or something like that. And what this young man who is definitely in the Gen Z generation, he posted the question, uh, I would like to volunteer in something. I do have some experience with helping volunteering with the homeless. Uh, does our parish have any ministries that I can volunteer at? And I'm going, what a wonderful question. Yay. and and so, I answered back, and well, first I thought about it and said, well, we have a food pantry. I'm not aware of a ministry that does anything more, go out to the homeless, but I am aware of a ministry that's lay founded, and somebody from the church started many years ago a ministry to the homeless where this woman who's founded it just has drawn so many people to this ministry because everybody thinks it's great to go out and take lunches to the people who are sleeping underneath bridges and that sort of thing. And when I told this new young man, about this particular one, he was delighted to find out about it. So I think there's a lot of, correct me if I'm wrong, but in young adults, I think there's not only desire to be part of something that excites their faith, but and gives them a feeling that they are welcome and they're part of this community, but also, um, we need to do a better job of advertising what are the ministries that people can join, and we need to remember that the young people coming in are interested in doing ministry. I mean, I look across YouTube, and
Mm.
there are so many ministries. I mean, like yours, Michael, you're a young man who is doing a lot. You jumped right into it because you were inspired to. The Holy Spirit just took you over when you became Catholic, and there it's happening to others, and it can happen to more if we make it the road clearer for them and the way easier for them. So I think young adults are more interested in volunteering than we might otherwise think. You have any comments about that?
Yeah, a lot. So I think we kind of live at a time like more than in past generations, like where you could say be a Catholic and be part of the world. But nowadays, I think it's like almost impossible to be part of the world and still call yourself Catholic. So the people who are converting nowadays, like they're making a full decision. They might lose friends because of it. They might lose their job even, and they're, yeah, taking that faith seriously, and they're like wanting to share it with other people. That's something that comes when you like have to put your entire life on the line to believe. You actually want to share it with other people, because then it becomes more powerful for you, and you realize it could be
Yeah.
helpful for other people. And so,
Slap on that one.
yeah,
That is a powerful point. That is a powerful point. So,
and that's
so I
how
thank
I
you
started
so
myself.
much. What?
That's how I started, like getting into YouTube and all that myself. Just a desire to share the faith with other people. So hopefully, more and more people keep doing that.
Yes, and hopefully this video will get out to many, and be an influence to many new things happening for the young adults. I thank you so much, Michael, for joining us and sharing your journey with us and your insights with us. If there's one point that you want to be sure to get across, what would that be?
So to go back like to community, when I was actually working with the monks, they were people from all walks of life, a West Point graduate, a restaurant owner, and they had their human differences, but they all gathered behind the idea of being in a monastery, which means one, mono. And so they were gathered together for this mission to make that mission of community come true. And so I think even outside in the world, we're all different, but I think if we gather around a mission of spreading the gospel, then we can put aside our differences and be united.
Wonderful. That is well said. Yes. Okay, well, I thank you again, and I ask God to bless you in the continuation of your ministry of reaching out.
Thank you. It's been great to be here and great to talk with you.